Hello and welcome in, race fans, to tonight's event under the lights here at the Texas Motor Speedway for race 13 of the All-American Racing League inaugural season. We are officially halfway through the season with 12 races down and 12 races to go, starting tonight with 160 laps around this mile-and-a-half circuit. Controversial mile-and-a-half circuit. Usually all of these sorts of tracks referred to as the cookie cutters, but of course, as many of you who race yourselves already know, Texas known for its turn one reconfiguration, and that's what we're looking at right now. You can see just how wide turns 1 and 2 are. Maybe 10 car widths or so, but really all we're going to see used is that bottom 1 to 2 grooves right there, depending, as it's a very one-line corner in terms of where you get the speed out of these race cars. But as it sits, practice is getting ready to come to a close in just a little over 3 minutes. We can open up the scoring tower right here and take a look at our best times on the board here in practice. Jamie Walker in that 88 machine, top of the boards through 57 minutes of practice with a 29.693. The only driver to break into the 29.6s is Jamie Walker, who of course has 1 win under his belt earlier this season. Some other drivers we have out here on track. Ryan Rose currently sits P2 on the timing chart. It's got a little bit of a new paint scheme out here, does the 78, that Brett's Electric Camaro, getting a little bit of a refresh, looking good out there under the lights for Chris Rose, our winner in Richmond earlier this season. That's 2 of our drivers who have won a race. Let's jump over to the 74 of Nick Crawford, as a matter of fact. And I tell you what, let me see if I can't do a thing right here while we wait for practice to come to a close. I cannot. All right. Never mind that then. Well, here we have the 74 of Nick Crawford, driver who is surely going to be one of our contenders deep into the season. Going for a little ride through the grass. Got Matthew Pavlik in the 30, making some laps out here. 52 laps in practice. Caleb West in the 48. In those purple and orange colors out here on track. Let's see, we can go further up the board. Cody Gibson's got a brand new paint scheme out here. Finally getting rid of the Christmas paint scheme just in time for March to roll around starting tomorrow. Got that Cheetos machine, red and white. Got the naked Cheetos. Interesting. Okay, I like this. It's not the black and orange we usually see from Mr. Gibson. It's a nice new look out there. We'll have to keep our eyes out for that 7 machine out on track tonight. I was able to speak to Cody a little bit before tonight's event, and Cody wasn't feeling too great about this track here this evening, about turns 1 and 2, about that right front tire wear. So we'll see what that 7 car has in store. He's currently 3rd on the board in practice times. 4th on the board, Alex Fuller in that Scooby-Doo machine. Still looking for his first career win in the All-American Racing League is driver 45. He's had a couple of really good showings, has Alex. A couple of instances in which he was close to getting that first win under his belt. Could tonight in Texas be the night he's been waiting for? Lots of answers, lots of questions, with hopefully lots of answers as the night unfolds. Just ahead, Samuel Garcia in that 50. 8th on the board in only 21 practice laps up to this point. Fewest practice laps out of the top 10 at the moment for driver 50, that Apex 50 machine. Gonna go out there and try to get his first career win here in the All-American Racing League. Lots of stories to follow, and practice is officially coming to a close, which means we can switch on over to qualifying As we get ready to switch over into qualifying, reminder that tonight's event is 160 laps around this mile-and-a-half circuit that we can see from the sky. 2 stages. 2 stage breaks, I should say. The first one at lap 35, and the second at lap 80 to 85. Let me double check this. Let me make sure I get you the right info. 85 is stage number 2. 35 laps for stage 1, 50 laps for stage 2. And now we've got a couple drivers out here on track. Let's jump over to the 74 of Nick Crawford, and let's see what he's got in store for us. Recently securing his first win here in the All-American Racing League. In that Supra, going to be taking it through turns 3 and 4. Up on that middle line, try to carry as much momentum off of the corner as he can. Going to come to the line and start this first timed lap is Crawford, and we'll stay with the 74 as he heads down into turns 1 and 2. This might be a little bit of a warm-up lap right here. Just get the tires built in. You're not going to run that high up in turns 1 and 2 to try and make lap time. At least I would be amazed if anyone did intentionally run that far up. But here we go then. The 74 is going to carry as much momentum as he can off of turn number 4. And why don't we ride on board with Nick Crawford, driver out of Las Vegas, on this hot lap. Really fighting that wheel through turns 3 and 4. Oh my goodness. If that is an indication of what's to come, these drivers are going to have their hands full as Crawford comes across the line. He's going to put it P2 on the board behind Cody Gibson with that time right there. Here comes Nolan Milnes in the 1. Recent first-time winner across the line. Going to put the 1 machine P2. Going to bounce the 74 out. We jump onto the back straightaway. We've got driver 43. That's Larry Bell in that iconic Camaro. Through 3 and 4, keeping it glued on the line on entry. Going to wash it up on exit, and we'll see what Larry can do on his second go. Currently P7, and across the line for the final time as Ryan Rose jumps top of the board. Larry Bell's going to drop to P9 as more times shuffle in. Alex Fuller, top 4 in practice. Let's see what that 45 can do. He gets off of the corner all the way on the bottom of the racetrack. And that 45 is going to come across the line to put it P4 with that effort right there. We got driver 80 out here on track. Rob Higgs in that Ford Mustang after 1 lap. Currently sitting P12 on the board through 3 and 4 for the final time. As it sits, Ryan Rose provisionally on pole with a 29.80 ahead of Jamie Walker. And across the line for driver 80, we're going to put that machine in P9 with that effort right there. Here comes Brian Troy in that 27 across the line for the final time. And that 27 is going to go P18. Tell you what, I want to take a look here at Christopher Norris in the 38. Let's see what our all-star winner can do here in Texas. Down the back straightaway. 3 wins on the season and an all-star race. Chris Norris has cemented himself as the championship favorite halfway through the season here in the All-American Racing League. Going to come through the trial hole for the final time and put that Ford Mustang P10 on the board as Sam Garcia jumps up to the front row in that 50 machine with a 29.81. Big lap from Garcia as we jump over to Joseph Klein. Got the wrong number on the side of that machine. Supposed to be a 5. It reads a 7. We'll call him the 5 as Klein comes off a turn 4 and brings us to the line. P12 at the moment, and with lap number 2, looks like it's going to stay P12. Big hit into the wall. Trevor Harmon in the 029 looks to be the final driver to head out on track to make an attempt at a lap or 2 of qualifying. See what Harmon can do in that machine. Looks like we've got 3 drivers, make it 2 drivers who are not electing to take a time. Sam Dyer, Ryan Ferraro, or Ferrero. You'll have to let me know at some point. First lap for the 029 is going to be a P17. And it sounds like he's woed that race car up. He has indeed, not going to get a second lap in. P17 for Trevor Harmon. And with that, qualifying officially comes to a close, and we are ready to set our grid for race 13 of the season. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Why don't we? Starting on pole for tonight's event here in Texas, it's going to be Ryan Rose in the 78, 8/1000ths of a second ahead of our P2 starter, Sam Garcia. Row 2 is going to be made up of Jamie Walker and Cody Gibson. Row 3, Alex Fuller in 5th, Josh Kanata in P6. 7th place goes to Nolan Milnes, 8th Gabriel Goli. Rounding out the top 10, it's going to be Nick Crawford and Christopher Norris. P11 is going to go to Rob Higgs ahead of Joseph Klein in P12. Larry Bell starts 13th. Matthew Pavlik in 14th. Dakota Moniz starts P15. Zachary Wake P16. Trevor Harmon in 17th ahead of Jackson West, Caleb West, and William Brune to round out the top 20. In 21st, it's going to be Joe Hudson in the 23 ahead of Ron Hollifield in the 22nd position. Brian Troy starts 23rd. Tanner Marr 24th with no time. Ryan Ferraro 25th with no time. Sam Dyer shotgun on the field. And with that, race 13's grid is set, and we are ready for 160 laps of racing action here in Fort Worth, Texas. Let's see if we can't get an aerial view here of the field on pit road as we get ready to roll off behind that iRacing.com pace car. First stage, is going to be lap 35. That's going to be the first stint we're racing to, assuming we don't get any yellow flags in that time span. That'll be the first caution we're racing to, lap 35. And then further on to 85 a little bit later. All right, then. 12 races down, and I believe, let me double check. Yeah, 12 races down, 10 race winners through those 12 races. Tonight, race 13, and we've got a couple of contenders up towards the front who are looking for their first win. Sam Garcia outside front row, yet to win a race in the All-American Racing League. Alex Fuller starting in P5, yet to win a race. Gabriel Goli starting in P8, has not won a race. Up to this point, a couple of drivers in the top 10. Hoping that tonight here in Texas is going to be their shot. Rob Higgs in the 80 back there, starting in P7. Looking for his shot as well. Or, excuse me, P9, I think. Miscounted on that one. All right, lights are out on the pace car. We're going to get ready to get this show underway. Barney's got that green flag in hand. And the combination of Ryan Rose and Sam Garcia going to lead us to the green for the first time tonight under the lights. Everything is bigger in Texas. Pace car comes off, green flag ready. And for the 13th time this season, the All-American Racing League is green. Issues early on for the 30 of Matthew Pavlik down the back straightaway. Already sideways, we stay green as it was off the racing surface. We jump back up front to see Ryan Rose lead at the conclusion of lap number 1. We're going to get a replay as to what happened to the 30 of Matthew Pavlik in just a moment here, so we can see that the field has kind of sorted themselves out. Trouble on lap 1 for Pavlik in the 30. Looks like most of the field has gotten themselves spaced out at this point, figured out where they want to be running. Let's go ahead and queue up a replay right here, and let's see if we can't find out exactly what happened to driver 30. Just kind of gets sideways on his own in turn 2 right there, slides down. Nobody hits him, stays off the racing surface. And just like that, has to get that machine going in the right direction. So early troubles for the 30. However, as we have got a lead change. Ryan Rose has dropped down to P4 all of a sudden, and it looks like Ryan Rose went off track. So Jamie Walker in control of this race. We looked away for 2 seconds, and now Ryan Rose has had issues from the race lead. This is a replay of what happened here. Coming out of turn 4, slams the outside wall, cuts it across the grass. That was on lap 3. And Ryan Rose is going to drop down with damage to the right side of that Camaro. He's going to be hoping that that damage does not linger, that did not give him any suspension damage in that machine. That was a pretty hard hit in the outside wall for the race leader at the time. Either way, Jamie Walker is going to take over control of this race. Sam Garcia runs comfortably in P2. Cody Gibson, P3, Ryan Rose, Alex Fuller. That rounds out our top 5. You got to go a little further back to see a couple close battles going on track. We've got Chris Norris in the 38 up 3 spots, defending from Gabriel Goli in that 55 machine. And then we've got a bit of a gap. You've got to go back another second before you get to Joseph Klein, who himself has almost a second over Josh Kanata, kind of leading this pack a little further back, this mini hornet's nest. As we have got issues going on for multiple drivers. Nolan Milnes is already down a lap. First driver down 1 lap on the racetrack, and it looks like Nolan Milnes had to come down on pit road. I do believe that may have been a penalty. Don't quote me on that one. I'm going to assume that was a drive-through penalty for Nolan Milnes, carried over from last week's All-Star event. Either way, plenty of time to get back into things as we currently work lap 7 out of 160 here in Texas. Take a look at the gaps as they come out of turn 4. The treacherous turn 4 exit. We're going to see a number of drivers hitting that outside wall, getting loose on corner exit right here. Time and time again, it is the tail here at Texas. Ryan Rose will be far from the only one to do so, as we've got a battle a little further back. This is going to be for P11. Zachary Wake to the outside of Josh Kanata in the 16. Going to get that position done and away with. Up 5 positions for the winner in the season opener in Daytona, Zachary Wake. Moving on up in the field early on. Trying to get himself in good position by the end of stage 1, but Josh Kanata not ready to give it up quite yet. Going to keep that nose peek to the inside, as a little further back, we've got Jackson West sticking a nose to the inside of that 48 as well. Number of battles going on as we head down the back straightaway. This battle for P11 on back effectively is now the 48 and the 16 are going to go side by side through 3 and 4. Going to be about dead even. Oh, the 48 of Caleb West clips the grass. Gonna have to get out of it just a little bit. That'll give the 16 the advantage into turn 1. Back up towards the front. A little bit of pressure now for P3. Ryan Rose holding on ahead of a hungry group of drivers looking to catch up to the race leaders. Alex Fuller, Nick Crawford, Chris Norris, Gabriel Goli, all in this train following the 78 of Ryan Rose, who may be nursing some damage on the right side of that race car. I don't see any damage visually, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing going on internally with the suspension of that race car. The way he hit that wall, I would not be surprised. We won't really know until the first caution rolls around and that 78 dives down on pit road, so we can kind of see the pit lane time. And if he elects to get any damage fixed, if he needs to get any damage fixed, as the 45 is going to make a move to the inside. Bold move for Alex Fuller down to the inside of Ryan Rose in turns 1 and 2. He's going to slide up the track just a little bit, try and keep that momentum up down the back straightaway. They're going to enter turn 3 neck and neck, and Fuller is going to edge ahead on corner entry. Drives it in just deep enough to secure that spot. Drop Ryan Rose now down to P5 as we run and under pressure of losing that spot to the 74 of Nick Crawford. Josh Kanata still busy a little further back now, looking to move inside of the top 10, taking this spot away from Larry Bell, or so he hopes. He can take it away from Larry Bell. Down the back straightaway, Bell in the 43 is going to get that launch, but down into turn 3, Kanata drives it in just a little deeper. The 43 is going to concede that for now. Wise veteran move out of Larry as the 16 hits the wall out of 4. I did say we were going to see it quite often out here this evening. Josh Kanata is going to get his turn 4 wall slap done and out of the way early. May not be his last, and Larry Bell's going to fall into the hands of Zachary Wake, maybe even Caleb West. As we head through turns 3 and 4, Kanata's up inside of the top 10, Zachary Wake following suit. Bell's going to hold off that 48 car for now. A little further back, Jackson West, Trevor Harmon doing battle. That 029 moving up the field up 3 spots from where he started tonight's event. Looking to make his way through this pack as well. Up front, it's all Jamie Walker. And by all Jamie Walker, I mean by 2 seconds. It is Jamie Walker as we begin lap 16, not even halfway through stage 1, and Jamie Walker has pulled one of the largest gaps we have seen all season long at the ovals. They have been very competitive. The race leader here in the All-American Racing League not usually able to pull that significant a gap in that short an amount of time, so it'll be really interesting to see if that is a sign of things to come out here tonight for that 88 of Jamie Walker, or if he's going to start to come back down to earth and get reeled in by some of these guys who are maybe playing the long game on their tires. We're seeing Cody Gibson in that 7 machine take it to the inside of Sam Garcia in the 50. This is a battle for P2 on track. Gibson in that brand new white and red Cheetos machine going to take over P2 as Garcia concedes that one. Nice and easy for now, but he's going to have a rear view mirror full of Alex Fuller and Ryan Rose. Drivers currently running at P4 and P5, who have pulled up to the back bumper of these two up here. Cody Gibson now in P2 sits 2.2 seconds behind race leader Jamie Walker. I'll be curious to see if Cody Gibson has a better time trying to close that gap than what Sam Garcia did, as Garcia's going to lose both 3rd and 4th position in that one corner entry right there. That's going to drop the 50 down to P5 as Ryan Rose looks to come back to the inside of Alex Fuller now. That 78 machine with a second wind. Looked like maybe he had some damage after slapping that outside wall, fell back a number of positions. Perhaps that 78 just watching the tires, taking care of the equipment early on, and now charging back towards the front. Remember, Ryan Rose, our pole sitter, out here tonight. We know he's got the speed in that machine. He's going to have to work to get around that 45 of Fuller, though, who's not going to give it up without a battle. So far, that gap from P1 to P2 has remained mostly stagnant. Gibson not able to make inroads as of yet. Ryan Rose going to clear for P3, move the 78 up another position. As Fuller now looks to the outside, tries to fight back, but I think it's going to be a fruitless endeavor for now. That 78's got that covered off outside of turn 4, and down the front straightaway they roll. Alex Fuller back to the outside, maybe, maybe not. Follows Rose down into turn 1 right there. Not going to have the preferred line through 1 and 2. And it looks like that. Every time I think that's a done deal, Alex Fuller looks like he's ready to make the move again. I want to look away, but I can't look away. Every time I think Rose has him beat, that 45 comes storming back. So this battle might not be over yet, as it seems like Alex Fuller gets out of the corners a lot better He's just got so much more exit speed that he carries down the straightaways, and that's giving him a shot to poke his nose in almost every single time, unless a defensive move is taken by that 78. But it looks like they've got it sorted out. We've got a couple other close battles going on throughout the field. We got to go all the way back here to P16. Excuse me, P16 to see William Bruton in the 83, Jackson West in the 76 doing battle. We've got new driver Ryan Ferraro in the 34. That bright yellow Supra just behind. Out here for his first start tonight. As more drivers about to get involved on this one. Dakota Moniz in the 05. That one machine of Nolan Milnes is currently a lap down. First driver a lap down, I do believe. So we'll be hoping for the lucky dog as we run. It's not going to be too much longer, though. And Matthew Pavlik is going to be in danger of going a lap down. And if Matthew Pavlik in the 30 goes a lap down to race leader Jamie Walker, who's right here before the end of stage 1, that is going to be bad news for Nolan Milnes in the 1 who had a drive-through penalty at the start of this race, I do believe. And that's what's put the 1 a lap down. Nolan is going to be hoping that the 30 car stays on the lead lap for this final 11 laps of stage 1, but it doesn't look very likely with the speed that that 88 car is showing out here tonight. Jamie Walker passes Matthew Pavlik and the caution comes out. That 30 car gets the lucky dog back onto the lead lap instead of the 1 car. Could be a big story to follow. Nolan Milnes, a race winner, one of our contenders for the playoffs, as Jamie Walker is going to bring us down onto pit road. Going to be the first driver to drop down on pit road here in stage 1. Jamie Walker from the race lead brings that 88 down. All right, that tells me fuel is a concern, and Jamie Walker has a penalty. Oh my goodness. From the race lead. Say it ain't so. Jamie Walker speeding on pit road on the very first pit stop of the evening. Jamie Walker is going to have 40 additional seconds in the pit box. That is not what you want to see for a car that looked to be so dominant in the early laps of this event. How is that going to shake everything up? One thing I do want to do is jump on board with race leader Cody Gibson. Jamie Walker came down on pit road, which tells me that fuel is a concern to the end of stage 1. 35 total laps. I want to see if Cody Gibson's saving any fuel. There you go. Throwing the clutch in for a significant amount of time into turn 1 is Cody Gibson in the 7. That tells me all I need to know. So a number of these drivers out here fuel saving to make it to the end, and perhaps that is why we have seen drivers come and go in the way that they have. Perhaps that is why the 88 car had such an advantage. Perhaps Jamie Walker decided he wasn't going to save fuel and he was just pushing all out. Lots to consider, but at the moment, Jamie Walker currently finds himself, I believe, 2 laps down, which is not what you want to see at this point in the race. He's going to be forced to take a wave around at the stage break and run stage 2 on some older tires just to put himself a single lap down with a shot. He is going to need some cautions to get back into this. Cody Gibson leads with 6 laps to go in stage number 1. Ryan Rose sits in P2 ahead of Alex Fuller in 3rd. Got to go back a little bit before you find Chris Norris and Nick Crawford. This 2-car tandem back here running in P4 and P5, trying to nurse it to the end of stage number 1 on fuel. Will any other drivers have to come down on pit road? Any other drivers fail to stretch the fuel they need? We are going to find out as we try to monitor a couple of these battles throughout the field. Caleb West, Larry Bell doing battle for P14 at the moment. Newcomer Ryan Ferraro's up 11 positions from where he started this race. Driver 34 And that all yellow Supra out here making his first start, having a good showing thus far. Jump back up towards the front as the battle for P2 remains steady. Ryan Rose, Alex Fuller, they're not really closing in on Cody Gibson, but they're keeping it close amongst the two of them. 4 laps to go now in stage number 1. Remember, these drivers, they don't just have to save enough fuel to get to the stage break. They have to save enough fuel to get to the stage break and make an additional pace lap or 2 before pit lane opens to avoid a penalty under yellow for pitting on a closed pits. So you always have to have that additional fuel saved. You're not just going to the number. You've got to have enough to go a little past the number. And far too often does that catch drivers out. As we take 3 laps to go here in stage number 1. As it sits, nobody else has come down for fuel here in stage 1. Jamie Walker, the only one, had that speeding penalty. Now behind the 8 ball. Cody Gibson in control. And now Alex Fuller around the outside. Has Ryan Rose not saved an appropriate amount of fuel? Does that 78 need to go into more of a hardcore saving mode? Perhaps as the Scooby-Doo machine flies past and makes it look effortless. Now Chris Norris and Nick Crawford going to be reeling in Rose in that 78 in only a matter of seconds, as that 78 seems to have dropped way off of the pace, surely in an effort to save a little extra fuel. It's going to bobble through turns 3 and 4 right there. Chris Norris is going to pull up to the rear bumper and take it to the inside. Down into turn number 1, battle for P3. Norris is going to take that and bring Nick Crawford along with him, as Rose now drops down to P5 and continues to run off of the pace. All the while, Cody Gibson seems to be pretty comfortable out front. Got 1.4 seconds over Alex Fuller. Going to come off of turn 4 for the final time in stage 1 and see that green and white checkered flag across the line to secure some points. We're waiting for 10th place to cross the line. And as soon as 10th place Gabriel Ngoli does, there's the yellow flag to end stage number 1. These drivers are going to need to make it all the way around the track to catch the pace car, and all the way around the track again to get to pit road, and hope they have enough fuel to do so. We are going to monitor the situation as a number of these drivers have shut their machines off to ensure that they're good to go. Alex Fuller, I do believe, finished that stage in P2, but has that machine down to a crawling pace at the moment. Nick Crawford has closed that gap to Cody Gibson here. If Alex Fuller cannot maintain pace, he'll give up that position. So we will monitor everything right here. Get a look from the sky. Brian Troy has had to come down on pit road, running out of fuel before pit lane opens. It looks like the 45 is still good, but certainly saving some fuel desperately down the back straightaway, unable to stay glued to the back bumper of that 7. Doing everything he can to clutch it around for this final time before we enter pit road right here is Alex Fuller. Stage points are going to be paid out to Gibson, Fuller, Norris, Crawford, Rose, the top 5. Kanata, Klein, Garcia, Wake, and Ngoli, the top 10. All getting stage points 10 through 1. All the way down. These drivers are going to make it on to pit road. And for the first pit sequence of the evening, for most of the field, we'll see who comes out on top. A couple of drivers out on track. Matthew Pavlik, I do believe, is the lucky dog with that yellow right there. Jamie Walker is going to stay out and get 1 of 2 laps back with the wave around. And with that, race off of pit road. It's going to go to Cody Gibson, but watch out, Chris Norris. is moving on up in the world. Chris Norris is going to come off of pit road in P2, up 8 positions from where he started tonight's race. 3 times a winner on the season, coming off of an all-star race win last week out, is that 38 car now running in P2. You see the 88 of Jamie Walker. Remember, Jamie Walker led this race for half of stage 1, little over half of stage 1. Looked like the dominant car early in the runnings. Did not save the fuel to make it to the end. Came down on pit road. Sped on pit road. Got that speeding penalty. Elects not to take the wave around right here. So Jamie Walker is going to remain 2 laps down. Elects to come down and take the tires instead of the lap. Tires are going to be at a premium here this evening. That is the word on the street, so I can't blame Jamie Walker for that one too much. Going to be hoping for a series of yellows here. But he's got 3 drivers 1 lap down ahead of him in line for that free pass. 3 to 4 drivers 1 lap down by the looks of it. As it looks like the yellow is going to get extended by a lap. Field's going to stay bunched up. We're going to go around 1 additional time. Lights remain flashing on that pace car. And when we get ready to go back green flag racing, we are going to be looking to race to the conclusion of lap 85 for stage number 2. It's going to put this stage at a bit under 50 laps, given these pace laps to start off stage number 2. These drivers cannot stretch that fuel to make it all the way, and are going to need at least 1 pit stop at some point in the middle of stage 2 to make it to the end on fuel. If it goes green, then we'll have some green flag pit stop sequences. If a yellow comes out, I'm sure these drivers will jump on that opportunity. No drivers out of the race at the moment. The scoreboard will say Tanner Marr, but Tanner Marr on the Ford did not take the green flag out here tonight. All 25 drivers who did are still running. 4 drivers 1 lap down, 1 driver 2 laps down. No cautions for incident through 1 stage in tonight's event. We are going to be restarting here on lap 41 with Cody Gibson on the inside in that white and red Cheetos Camaro in control of this race. To his outside, the 38 of Chris Norris, leader of the point standings, leader of the championship thus far in that Ford Mustang on the outside. Into the restart zone we go. For the second time tonight, we are green as Cody Gibson gets the jump from P1. Trouble for Brian Troy in the 27, out of turn 2 and onto the backstretch. Caution flag flies as we have got heavy damage for that Supra, as Brian Troy tries to limp it back around on to pit road here. Let's take a look and let's see what happened to Brian Troy in turn 2. Oh, eerily similar to what we saw out of the 30 of Matthew Pavlik early on in the race. Lap 1 of the race start, Matthew Pavlik had that same thing happen, except the 30 didn't overcorrect. The 30 just slid to the inside. 27 gets loose in the same exact spot, though in Brian's case, an overcorrection sends him into the outside wall across traffic. And that brings the yellow flag out. Fortunately, no drivers caught in that incident. That could have been very bad for a number of drivers towards the back of the field. I tell you what, I want to take a look at this. I want to take a look at this from on board the 30 of Matthew Pavlik. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well done, Matthew Pavlik in the 30, for keeping yourself out of that and keeping that 30 car going in the right direction and avoiding that one. All right, Nolan Milne's in that one car, going to get that wave around. So this is going to bring one of our faster drivers, one of our championship contenders, back onto the lead lap for the first time tonight. Here towards the start of stage 2, can Nolan Milnes claw his way up into the picture as this race develops further into the evening? That is going to elevate... who is that going to elevate? I believe that's going to elevate Jackson West to the first driver one lap down, should another caution come out. Jackson West, Matthew Pavlik, the two drivers who sit one lap down as we run. Jamie Walker still sits 2 laps down. Jamie's going to need all of the drivers a single lap down to get lucky dogs, or another opportunity for a wave around at some point to get himself back on the right lap. Going 1 lap down, your race ain't over. You've got chances, you've got a shot. You can get back into it. Going 2 laps down, that's when it gets bleak. When you get 2 laps down, that's when it gets real tricky to try and get your way back into the race. And that's the position that 88 car finds himself in at the moment. Never say never, especially for one of the fastest drivers here in the All-American Racing League in Jamie Walker. Here we go. Lights are out on that pace car. We're going to double up the field once again to the inside. It's going to be Cody Gibson in that 7. And to the outside, now Nick Crawford in the 74. Going to be joining that front row. Row 2 will be made up of Chris Norris and Ryan Rose. Row 3, Joseph Klein and Josh Kanata. Row 4, Samuel Garcia, Alex Fuller. And row 5, Zachary Wake and Caleb West. Working lap 45 at the drop of the green flag here, working the second caution of the evening, first for incident, as the 27 of Brian Troy had a single car spin off of turn 2 on the restart here in stage 2. Nosed it into the outside wall, got some damage. Now finds himself 3 laps down, and potentially counting, as he was on pit road for a significant amount of time and getting damage fixed. Here we go then. Pace car is going to pull us off yet again, and the field is in the hands of Cody Gibson on the inside, bringing us to that green flag. Barney's waving it, and the inside line is going to get a fantastic restart, headed down towards turn number 1. Cody Gibson in control, and the battle is on for P2. Chris Norris to the inside of Nick Crawford. Can he make the pass? Crawford's going to come back with the momentum down the back straightaway, looking for the opportunity down into turn 3. Battle is on now for P2 and maybe even the race lead as Cody Gibson's going to get split and we go 3 wide, nearly into turn 1. Nick Crawford decides to cross it over now down the back straightaway to the inside of the 38. Side draft him down the back straightaway as Cody Gibson says, get me out of here. Down into turn 3 we go. Now Crawford to the inside of Norris. Looking to chase down Cody Gibson for that race lead. The 74 is going to come off of the corner, try and find the opportunity as these three pile down into turn 1 yet again. Gibson holding on as Crawford and Norris go door to door out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway, Norris with the advantage. Little side draft, but Crawford eventually relinquishes the position, slides back into line, and lets that be that. A little further back, Ryan Rose, Josh Kanata. This is a battle for P5 as we run. Rose to the outside, Kanata in that 16 to the inside, down into turn number 1. And it looks like Kanata is going to clear just as Rose looks to dive down to the inside and cross over. Not going to have the momentum needed to make that stick. And that is our top 5 sorted for the moment. All eyes on the rear bumper of that 7. Cody Gibson in control, leading the charge up front in Texas, ahead of Chris Norris and Nick Crawford. But I tell you what, a driver we haven't mentioned too often tonight, Joseph Klein, who is in a 7 car, but it should be a 5 car. Just pretend that says number 5. That's what Joseph's supposed to be driving out here tonight. He's up 8 positions from where he started tonight's race. Sitting comfortably in P4 at the moment, showing some speed in that Camaro. Joseph Klein's another driver who has yet to win a race here in the All-American Racing League. Certainly capable. Certainly has the speed to do so on his night. Going to keep himself in contention out here with this run. The only other driver out of this lead bunch who has not won a race is Sam Garcia in the 50, and Sam Garcia has been oh so close a couple of times. He currently sits in P7 following this lead pack, trying to keep himself in the hunt. There is a 2.3 second gap before you get to Alex Fuller and company. The rest of the field, that is, all in this big kerfuffle. From about P8 on back, we can see Jamie Walker here. Jamie Walker 2 laps down at this point, just waiting for the opportunities to roll his way to get some of those laps back, to get himself back in contention. We know how fast he is. Jamie Walker was leading this race before it all fell apart. So these drivers in the mid-pack, they're going to have their hands full dealing with that 88. As we continue to monitor this battle. Oh, the 48 gets extremely tight through the entry of turn 1 right there. Nearly slides up into Zachary Wake. Gets it checked up in time. No harm, no foul. Caleb West struggling with the handling of that Camaro. Zachary Wake on the outside with maybe the preferred line for handling, but no, Caleb West is going to power through in turns 3 and 4. Faster corners of this racetrack. Keep himself right on the rear bumper of Caleb West, or excuse me, of Alex Fuller in P8. Jump back up towards the front. Couple of battles going on. Chris Norris holding on to P2. And Ryan Rose going to take back the spot from Josh Kanata in the 16. Rose wants to move back into the top 5, and he is going to do so. Tonight's pole sitter lurking around the top 5 all night so far, keeping himself in contention. Winner at Richmond a number of weeks back. Became the first driver in the All-American Racing League to lead every single lap in an oval race. Very difficult feat to accomplish. It's one thing if you do it on a road course, it's another thing if you do it on an oval, especially an oval that has 200 laps to its race. Well done by the 78, of course. Further up, Cody Gibson in control. His advantage is about 0.6 of a second at the moment. And remember, these drivers cannot make it to the end of stage 2 without a pit stop for fuel and certainly for tires. So as we work lap 20 at the line, 21 out of 50 here in stage number 2, we're going to be keeping in mind that these drivers have to pit, and I know a number of these drivers are going to be eyeing that halfway mark, 25 out of 50, because drivers like easy numbers to follow. The simpler the math, the better. Though we did have a number of pace laps, we didn't start stage 2 until about 5 or 6 laps after stage 1 ended, and then we had a caution instantly for another 3 to 4 pace laps. So if I'm behind the wheel, I'm not coming down on lap 25. I'm thinking closer to 32 to 33. That might be when I'm coming down. We'll see what these drivers elect to do. And we'll see who the first to bite is. It looks like Joe Hudson is on pit road, but Joe Hudson has a black flag, so speeding penalty by the looks of it for the 23 of Joe Hudson. One of the newcomers here in the All-American Racing League. More issues on pit road for the field. He's going to find his race severely hindered. It's one thing to speed on pit road. It's another thing to speed on pit road under green flag conditions. That is almost always a race ender. As we see Ryan Rose now to the inside of Joseph Klein. That's going to look easy as Klein does not fight that move. Says, I saw you coming. You're faster. Take it and don't slow me down. And just like that, the 78 moves up to P4. One more in his quest to get back up to the front of the field where he started tonight's race. Sam Garcia, I've noticed in the past lap or two, has been hounding the rear bumper of Josh Kanata in that 16. We'll jump on board right here with the 50 of Sam Garcia, currently running in P7, all over that 16, just ahead of him. See if he finds the opportunity to stick a nose in there and make a move. We know this Apex 50 machine has been fast out here tonight. Ran in P2 for a good chunk of stage 1 earlier in the race. Keeping himself in contention. You never know what you're going to get out of this 50 either. Both times in which Sam was close to winning a race, it was because he saved an additional set of tires, used them at the very end with a late caution, and charged up to second place. Oh, so close both times. Keeping yourself up towards the top 5 and in the top 10 gives you the chances to do that. So you see no inroads being made at this point. 50 is kind of fallen off of the rear bumper of that 16 for the time being. Further back in the Hornet's Nest, Trevor Harmon, Dakota Moniz doing battle this for P13 on track. Moniz to the inside is going to clear and take that position in that 05 machine. Not a driver we get to talk about all too much here on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network, but out here having a solid run up 2 spots from where he started tonight's event. Just up ahead, witnessing this battle, Gabriel Ngoli to the outside in that 55, and Ryan Ferraro, I'm so sorry, Ryan, you'll have to let me know. My excuse is that you're brand new to the league. But that 34 car doing a great job out here tonight, up 13 spots from where he started, currently in P11, and in with a great shot at scoring a top 10 in his first start in the All-American Racing League. As we've got our first pit stop, Trevor Harmon in the 029 on lap 28 out of 50. That's going to be the first one to come down on this stage 2 pit sequence. Was not up towards the front, so that's not going to be enough to lure any of our race leaders down. I'll be curious to see who out of the top 7 is the first to come down. Gibson, Norris, Crawford, Rose, Klein, Kanata, Garcia. That bunch that all runs in frame right about here, more or less. Bit of a gap forming halfway through this group. But that's who I've got my eyes on. That's who I'm paying attention to. And after Sam Garcia in P7, you've got to go back 4.2 seconds before you find Alex Fuller in P8. About to be Zachary Wake in P8. Looks to the outside of that Scooby-Doo machine. Looking to make his way up in the field. But it's interesting that we have such a large gap that has developed in the back half of the top 10. Not usually something we see. You see the 34 of Ferrero to the inside of Wes. This a battle for the top 10 as Ryan Rose has come down. All right, this was one of our lead group. Ryan Rose down on pit road. Gabriel Goli in the 55 down on pit road as well. How do these race leaders react? It's lap 31 out of 50 here in stage number 2. Who is going to be the next one to bite the pit road bullet? I think it might be the 38 of Norris. It is the 38 of Norris diving down towards the pit lane right here. Gets on nice and well. We've already seen 2 speeding penalties. Pitting under green flag conditions at this point, so something that we'll be monitoring quite closely as everyone makes their pit stops right here. And it looks to me like we are getting some splash and goes. So drivers electing not to take tires on their pit stops. Ryan Rose, Gabriel Goli, fuel only. Chris Norris, fuel only. As we've got Joseph Klein on pit road now. Joseph Klein's going to be the next one to come down. So if these drivers are taking fuel only, it's not going to matter as much when they come down, because there is no undercut, overcut on tire performance if you're running the same tires all the same. The one difference you might run into is what traffic you're around before and after your pit stop. You could pit early and pit into clean air, or pit into dirtier air. You could pit later, find yourself in cleaner air or dirtier air. And that might be the biggest factor by the time the stage comes to a close. Nolan Milnes in that one car is down on pit road, and Joseph Klein has a speeding penalty on pit road. Ron Hollifield brings it down and has a speeding penalty on pit road. 4 speeding penalties already in tonight's event, halfway through stage 2. 4 drivers caught by speeding on pit road here in Texas. Not going well for the field as Cody Gibson continues to lead, staying out on track. Lap 35 out of 50 here in stage number 2. These drivers are going to start to get real low on fuel here, and they're going to be forced to come down on pit road. Cody Gibson's going to be the next one to do so. Relinquishes the lead to Nick Crawford in the 74. Nick Crawford going to lead this lap as Garcia comes flying in. Sam Garcia, speeding penalty on pit entry. Cannot get woed up in time. Make it 5 speeding penalties. Dakota Moniz down on pit road, just behind as well. And this has become a race of attrition. The attrition being don't speed on pit road. I have never seen a pit entry catch so many drivers out in a single event. 5 separate speeding penalties under green flag conditions. 72 laps into this race. We're not even halfway into this race. A number of the drivers being hit with these speeding penalties are drivers who are running in the top 5, top 10. As we see Ryan Ferraro, we see Rob Higgs, both down on pit road at this point. As it looks like I'm seeing a black flag for Milnes. Did Milnes get a speeding penalty on pit exit? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Nolan Milnes is going to have to come down. Is that a 6th speeding penalty? Oh my goodness. All right, 6 speeding penalties for the field before the halfway mark. Nick Crawford controls this race, but he's going to have to come down. Not this time. He manages to stay out. These drivers who are stretching their fuel, they might fancy a shot to put the field a lap down and get a little cheeky about it. Nick Crawford, Josh Kanata, Zachary Wake, Alex Fuller, Caleb West, William Bruton, and Sam Dyer. The top 7 all need to make their stage 2 pit stop to make it to the end of stage 2 on fuel. Chris Norris leads the charge of drivers who are good to go on fuel. As now the 74 of Crawford will bring it down onto pit entry. Get it woed up in time. We do not need a 7th speeding penalty as Crawford gets it woed down nice and well. William Bruton gonna get that car woed up nice and well. And that brings 2 more drivers down. Josh Kanata, the new race leader in the 16. Just behind, that's Chris Norris looking to get his lap back. That would put the 38 back on the lead lap. This pass right here. Though Chris Norris did not take tires on that pit stop, so there's not going to be a significant pace advantage. Just whatever these drivers have managed up to this point in the race. 10 laps to go in stage number 2. As it looks like Josh Kanata might be signaling coming down this time around. Certainly can't save enough to make it to the end of stage 2. Not an option, and the 16 is going to try and get a woed up. Gets a little squirrely, gets a little sideways, but Josh Kanata has that machine woed up, and that 16 down on pit road safely. Going to relinquish the lead to Zachary Wake, and the 39, who is going to lead this time around. Alex Fuller, Caleb West complete the 3-driver lineup of those who need to make their final pit stop to make it to the end of stage 2. Will it be this time for the 39 of Wake down into turns 3 and 4? And yes, indeed, Zachary Wake gonna bring Alex Fuller along with. Down onto pit road, those two are gonna get woed up. Oh, no, they're not. Zachary Wake speeding on pit road. Caleb West is going to go sideways on pit entry. All 3 of them come down. Zachary Wake is going to get the 7th speeding penalty of the night. On pit road, we are setting records out here in the All-American Racing League as Chris Norris is going to come around to take the lead over in that 38 machine with 8 laps to go in stage number 2. Nick Crawford just behind, battling with Cody Gibson for P2 as we run. And it looks like Crawford's going to have the advantage for the time being. This is our top 4 all in frame. Ryan Rose lurking just behind as we close in on the end of stage number 2. All eyes on the 38 of Norris. This race that has become a battle of not speeding, and Alex Fuller speeding on pit exit. I am showing a black flag for the 45. Oh my goodness. That is our 8th penalty of the night. I'm assuming these are all speeding penalties. I'm not seeing anything to indicate anything other than speeding penalty, as the 45 still has this black flag and still has not come down to serve it. So we will monitor that situation. You have 3 laps to serve it before you're disqualified. We will see what the situation is for Alex Fuller, as the battle for the lead is on here towards the end of stage 2. Chris Norris under immense pressure. Here comes the 74 Crawford to the inside with 5 laps to go in stage number 2. Nick Crawford to the lead, going to take over the point. Down into turns 1 and 2. Alex Fuller is on pit road to serve that penalty. 8 speeding penalties, and we only just hit the halfway mark in tonight's race. I'm sure these drivers have learned at this point, and we should start to see the speeding penalties taper off. But my, oh my, never have I ever. There are a number of notable drivers 1 or more laps down from their speeding issues on pit road. As now Chris Norris under pressure for P2. Cody Gibson is going to send that machine down to the inside and try and take over this spot for 9 stage points by the end of it. That's what's up for grabs right here. 3 laps to go in stage number 2. As we work lap 83, just over halfway into tonight's event. Closest battle on track. It's the one we're looking at. Battle for P2 between Gibson and Norris. Gibson running away with it at this point. Oh, I take that back. We've now got a closer battle, and it's the 55 of Goalie going around Sam Dyer in the 31. Sam Dyer hasn't pit since lap 43. Sam Dyer is going to have to come down on pit road. There is no way Sam Dyer is stretching this from lap 43 to 85. I think he is, but I don't think it was worth it if you're the 31 of Dyer. He is so far off the pace, just trying to limp it back around. We are on the white flag lap here in stage number 2. And he is still out there. He's still going to try it. Back up front. Down the back straightaway for the final time in stage 2. Nick Crawford in the 74. In control. Looking to secure 10 stage points. And a stage win here in Texas. He is going to do it. 10 points headed to Nick Crawford in that 74 machine. Cody Gibson, Chris Norris, Ryan Rose. Josh Kanata rounds out the top 5. Ryan Ferrero, newcomer, P6 in stage 2. Trevor Harmon, Dakota Moniz, Gabriel Goalie, and rounding out the top 10, Rob Higgs in that 80 machine. That is our top 10 concluding stage number 2. That's where the points are going. As we get our final scheduled yellow for tonight's event. Nick Crawford, the man on top, at the end of stage 2 here in Texas. All right, while we prepare for these drivers to make their pit stops here at the end of stage number 2, I'm going to jump over to a quick commercial so I can get a drink and give my voice a break. We will be back before the action resumes. All right, drivers have made their pit stops at the end of stage number 2. And we are getting ready to re-rack and restack. We can see Jamie Walker and Joseph Klein, 2 drivers electing to take the wave around here at the conclusion of this yellow. Going to be hoping for some rapid fire cautions to get themselves back in the hunt. Those 2 will be sent around the pace car to get 1 lap back, and up front, it's going to be Nick Crawford in the 74 electing to take the outside lane for the restart. Outside lane, first choice. We've seen that out here tonight. Going to be giving the advantage to teammate Chris Norris in the 38. Puts Ryan Rose and Cody Gibson on the inside. We prepare for the start of stage 3 here in Texas. No more speeding penalties under caution, so we still sit at 8 total, if I'm not mistaken, for those keeping track. For the the record book writers, this might be a record that that never gets beaten out here in the All-American Racing League. 8 speeding penalties in a race is unheard of. All right, lights are out. Lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car. Nick Crawford on the outside lane, in control for this restart. Going to be bringing us to green for stage number 3. No more designated yellows. And we are a go. All right, battle's on for P2 as Nick Crawford leads across the line. Chris Norris, Ryan Rose, 38-78. They're going to pull all the way up to the back of Crawford, trying to battle that out for P2. We got Gibson Kanata battling for P4 just behind, 2 by 2. A couple of rows deep towards the front right here. Nick Crawford, the only one free, as Norris is going to pull ahead right there and maybe even get to the inside. No, that gets covered off by Crawford in the 74, but Crawford might have company down into turn number 1. Chris Norris gonna send it in on corner entry. Has to get that car woed up just a little bit as he slides up the racing surface. Here comes Crawford back on the outside lane then, as further back the rest of the top 5 continues to close in. Crawford on the high side, Norris on that white line, gonna bobble up the racetrack just a little bit off of turn number 4 at the line. It's gonna be Crawford by a nose, but here we go down into turn number 1. Yet again, Chris Norris going to have the advantage on that inside line. He drives it in deep. He can't clear in the middle of the corner. And now Crawford back from the high line. Going to side draft down the back straightaway, down into turn 3. You got to keep that thing pinned to try and keep that nose there. No, Chris Norris is going to clear. And with that, new race leader, Chris Norris is just behind. The battle is still raging for P4. Josh Kanata, Cody Gibson, and now Ryan Rose being pulled into this. As down the back straightaway, we're nearly 3 wide. Cody Gibson's going to take that momentum and try and clear the 78 of Rose, but the 78's got that preferred inside line. What can he do with it, as these tires are still fresh and new, but at some point they're going to drop off, and you're not going to want to be battling this hard, as Gibson keeps it pinned on the outside down into turn 1. Rose is going to have company in the form of Kanata sticking that nose out there as well. Down the back straightaway, Gibson might be looking for a twofer as he goes to the inside of Crawford down into turn number 3. Cody Gibson on a mission as we are once again 2 by 2 through turns 3 and 4. Chris Norris trying to hold on out front as we might get dicey down into turn number 1. Gibson sends it in deep. He's got all that dirty air on his front nose, but it doesn't matter. Move that Cheetos machine up to P2, but maybe not for long because here comes Crawford back to the inside. Looking to cross over. These drivers not willing to give up the track position at this point in the race. Crawford's going to hug that line, use it to wrap off a 4. It's not going to be enough, though, as Gibson's going to keep that momentum and send it to the outside of Norris on turn 1 right there. That's going to be a little too far up the racetrack to make anything meaningful work, but is he going to get a good enough run down the back straightaway? We're going to see as he closes this gap as we approach turn 3. Where does Gibson go? He's going to run 2 lanes up the racetrack from where Norris is. He's going to slide that nose down towards exit, try and get a good run off, carry that momentum, and close in before we get to turn 1. He'll be close, but not close enough. It looks like, again, we're seeing a similar strategy from Cody Gibson in the 7 as he takes that wide entry and arcs it down off of the corner. Very interesting strategy to pull in turns 1 and 2 here at Texas. Very dangerous on that right front tire if you're not careful. As Chris Norris holds on for now, Cody Gibson trying everything he can to put the moves on and take over the race lead once again. These two are starting to pull away from third on back. Crawford, Kanata, Rose rounding out the top 5 as we run. Update on some of the drivers who had some speeding penalties. Alex Fuller is the first driver, 1 lap down. Samuel Garcia, Zachary Wake, also 1 lap down. Matthew Pavlik, Joe Hudson, Ron Hollifield, Jamie Walker, Joseph Klein, all 1 lap down. A number of those drivers from speeding penalties on pit road. 8 total. So we continue to watch this battle for the race lead unfold. Gibson tried it. Wasn't going to happen right there, and now there's a pretty significant gap. Can he close that gap down the back straightaway? Every single time, he's got the momentum. He just needs to keep it closer through turns 1 and 2 right there. Unable to do so up to this point, but he's even pulling the same move in 3 and 4, entering a little higher and trying to use the momentum on corner exit. Running down the racetrack, down the banking, late apexing these corners. Sacrificing that entry to middle speed in hopes of a shot to get a nose in there on entry when he's got a good enough run and he can get oh so close to the back of Norris in that 38. One of these times it might just be enough. Gibson's going to have to make sure that he is not using too much tire to do it. But here we go then to the outside of Norris. This is the first time we've seen Gibson get this close to the outside. Now going to run the same strategy he's been running. Try and pull it down the banking just a little bit down the back straightaway. Gibson gets into the back of the 38 and into the wall. Oh my goodness, was that a block? Or did that door just shut? Oh my goodness. I don't have anything to go off of. We're going to wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey this real quick because I want to see what just happened down the back straightaway as we come out of turn number 4. And let's take a look from the blimp right here. Battle for the race lead. Cody Gibson sees the opening, wants to take it. Chris Norris slides up, and that puts the 7 in the wall. As Norris says, no, thank you. That door is closed. And now the gap sits at 0.3 of a second. Cody Gibson probably not a big fan of that move. As now he lines up the 38 one more time. A little further back, Ryan Rose has gone his way into P3 ahead of Nick Crawford in the 74. These two have been lurking around the top 5 the entire night. Even quieter lurking around the top 5 has been Josh Kanata in that 16. Fast enough to be in the top 5 and still waiting to see if he can find that extra speed to start climbing towards the race lead here. He currently sits in 5th. Gabriel Ngoli ahead of, I guess this is a tricky spot right here. Gabriel Ngoli ahead of a couple drivers who are a lap down. Alex Fuller, and Sam Garcia. Those two are not for position. Got to go back to Dakota Moniz for position back here. Trevor Harmon and Ryan Ferrero in P9. We do got a battle for position down the back straightaway. Nolan Milnes to the inside of William Bruton. Milnes has had an up and down night. 2 penalties already. 1 drive through at the start of the race and a speeding penalty in the middle of stage 2 for that one machine. But somehow, some way, sitting in P11 with this move on Bruton, assuming it can stick. As Moniz and Harmon do battle, Harmon's going to get that spot away and up towards the front. Cody Gibson closing that gap again. Chris Norris got to be a little careful right here. He might have used all of the goodwill that 7 machine was willing to give him. And now as Gibson closes in once more, he's got to be ready for what that 7 might or might not be willing to pull once he has the opportunity. Watching from on board, our race leader, Chris Norris in the 38. Coming out of turn number 4. He's going to keep the momentum up pretty well right there. We're far enough into this run that the tire wear is going to be pretty significant for these drivers. Cody Gibson continuing to late apex turns 1 and 2 to try and carry that momentum down the back straightaway. You can see the different lines he's taking. You can see Ryan Rose in P3 closing the gap. Ryan Rose is catching these two, trying to give himself an opportunity to make something happen here. Let's jump on board with the 78 of Rose as he hunts down the race leaders. He himself, not having been in as intense a battle, been able to take care of his stuff, run a lot smoother. Could this be playing into the hands of the 78? We enter turn 3 here. We're working lap 109 of tonight's event. 52 laps to go. Waiting to see how far into this run these drivers can make it. If you can get down to about 35 to 37 laps to go, you're in the fuel window. But these drivers might have to pit before we get that far. This might be 2 stops to the end, depending. As we do have Ron Hollifield on pit road as we speak. This battle, it's heating up. Cody Gibson, he's going to stick the nose in there. Down the front straightaway. He's got the opportunity. And now down into turn 1, Gibson sends it in deep. Norris says, I'm not even going to challenge that on entry. But on corner exit, I might give you something down the back straightaway right here. Then Norris tries to pull back in. He's not going to be able to. And now Ryan Rose says, thank you very much. I want to take P2, and I think I might have the race lead at that as well, because watch out, Cody Gibson. That 78 car, one of the fastest on track at the moment. So we head down into turn number 1. That 78 car in contention for the race lead. Our pole sitter in tonight's event has not led this race since the first lap or 2. Now back in contention, now back in the hunt. Cody Gibson finally getting that race lead once again, now looking to run away with it. But not able to gap that 78 as much as he would be hoping for. Waiting to see when the majority of our green flag pit sequence begins. Which drivers in the top 10 are going to be the first to make their moves. We find ourselves with 48 laps remaining in tonight's event. Little recap on tonight's event. Pole sitter Ryan Rose in the 78. Stage 1 winner Cody Gibson, after Jamie Walker dominated Stage 1, came down on pit road for some fuel and sped. That has put Jamie Walker down in the dumps for the entirety of tonight's race. Cody Gibson won Stage 1. Nick Crawford, winner in Stage number 2, but not before we've seen a record 8 speeding penalties in tonight's event. Say it ain't so. Make it 9 as Ron Holifield needs to serve a drive-through for speeding on pit exit. 9 speeding penalties in tonight's event because the record just couldn't stand at 8, and we might hit double digits before this race is over. Something about this pit entry here in Texas has caught this field out in the worst of ways, as Holifield gives us now our 9th pit road speeding penalty of the race. Cody Gibson in control, Ryan Rose holding tight, Chris Norris not going anywhere. You go back a couple seconds, you got Nick Crawford, and how about this? Trevor Harmon in the 029, battling inside of the top 5 with Josh Kanata. Trevor is up 11 spots from where he started tonight's event in that B-Sim design Supra. Looking good is Trevor Harmon out here. Shouts out. Gabriel Goli just behind. Ryan Ferrero, I've mentioned Ryan earlier, newcomer. First time out on track. Having a great showing in P8. Dakota Moniz in the 05, solidly in the top 10. Could use a great run out here tonight as well. Up front, the pressure remains as Ryan Rose continues to let Cody Gibson know he's there. Putting that front bumper all up in the rearview mirror of that Cheetos machine. As we head down the back straightaway right here, can Rose get there before the pit road sequence starts? And at what point does the pit road sequence start? Because we're getting close. We're getting pretty close to the point in which these drivers can make it on only one stop with some fuel saving. The last time these drivers pit was on lap 87. 117 is about 30 laps. You can go 35. You save just a smidge. I think it's going to take just a little bit of saving on both sides, but these drivers can make it to the end on a single stop. As long as they pay attention to their fuel and give themselves a 1 to 2 lap buffer on either side of the run, I think they'll be all right. That's going to be an interesting situation to keep on top of. And these drivers are going to probably start coming down on pit road with about 38 laps to go. So we've got a battle a little further back. Gabriel Ngoli moving on up in the world, trying to make the move on Josh Kanata now for P6. Ngoli not a driver that we've mentioned all too much out here tonight. But he's looking to get himself up in the running order before it's too late. Door to door with that 16. Neither driver getting an advantage. Kanata across the line. Does Ngoli keep it pinned on the inside? Yes. Down into turns 1 and 2. And up front, can't look away because Ryan Rose is there and hungry for the race lead. Gonna wash up the track. No, Cody Gibson is coming down on pit road. Cody Gibson, 40 laps to go. That is not a great time to pit. Cody Gibson is going to have to save more fuel than he is going to be happy about saving. You are going to want to stretch every lap you can on this run at the moment. Cody Gibson, the first of the race leaders to come down. That might have significant implications as we approach the end of this race. Ryan Rose makes it one additional lap before Chris Norris takes over the race lead. So the 78's going to come down on pit road with 1 lap better fuel, as does Gabriel Ngoli. This time around, Chris Norris now in the 38 puts himself in even better position to make it to the end with less fuel saving. Nick Crawford is out on track. Trevor Harmon up to P3 as it sits. And don't worry, I'm keeping an eye out for any additional speeding penalties. We get double digits. I don't know what I'm going to do. All right, anybody coming down this time? Yes, Trevor Harmon is going to make that turn onto pit road. Alex Fuller, not again! Alex Fuller, say it ain't so, gives us our 10th speeding penalty of the evening in that 45. Oh my goodness. Say it ain't so. Trevor Harmon is safely into the pit box. All right, 37 laps to go. I love where these drivers are at. Norris comes down. Crawford stays out even longer. All right. The longer you go on this run, the better you're looking for the end of this race. The less fuel you've got to save, the less you've got to worry about. Chris Norris is safely on pit road as Nick Crawford, Stage 2 winner, back in control of this race, playing the fuel game. 36 laps to go. Stage 1 was 35, and we know that most of the field saved enough to make it to the end of Stage 1 just fine. It did take some saving, but everyone did it. Crawford's going to come down and... Oh, don't speed! Oh, my goodness! Nick Crawford nearly gives us our 11th penalty of the night, but nay, gets that thing slowed up in time. Oh, my goodness. Way to give me a heart attack. Here comes Nolan Milnes. Here comes Caleb West. No! Caleb West with the 11th speeding penalty of the night. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and Nick Crawford, issues on pit road, cannot get himself in the box. He is going to lose so much time. He had the perfect strategy. And now, all of a sudden, the driver with the best strategy might just be the 16 of Josh Kanata if he can nail this pit stop, because nobody has nailed a pit stop tonight by the seams of it. 11 speeding penalties on the night, as Dakota Moniz, Ryan Ferrero, Sam Dyer are all down this time as well. Cody Gibson, first of the lead lap drivers to start this sequence, is going to take over the race lead, but Cody Gibson is going to need to save a lot of fuel to make it to the end by the looks of things. And that is something we are going to have to keep monitoring as we go. I would love to jump on board with driver number 7. Let's do it down the front straightaway. Now let's take a listen. Okay, Cody Gibson not saving any fuel. Let's take a listen to a driver who pit 3 laps later in Chris Norris. I don't hear any fuel savings out of the 38. Let's listen to the 78 of Ryan Rose in P2. Okay, Ryan Rose cutting off that machine. Ryan Rose pit 1 lap later than Gibson, 2 laps earlier than Norris. Let's listen to Josh Kanata in the 16. Josh Kanata pit on lap 126. He is the first driver good to go on fuel with probably no saving. Little to no saving. And yeah, as I would expect, Kanata running at just about full beans through turns 3 and 4. My oh my, 11 speeding penalties out here in tonight's event. 11 that I've caught. There very well could have been an additional one that I did not see as it happened. But 11 speeding penalties in one race, consisting of 25 drivers, has certainly got to be a record somewhere. Cody Gibson leads this race by just shy of 3 seconds, but Cody Gibson likely not good to make it to the end on fuel. He's going to be hoping for an intervention from a yellow. Ryan Rose has 1 additional lap than Cody Gibson. It'll be interesting to see where that 78 falls. Is he going to be in a boat where he can make it with enough stretching, or is he also going to be hoping for an intervention? Chris Norris has 3 laps additional fuel than Cody Gibson. I feel confident that Chris Norris is going to make it to the end on fuel. though he'll probably need some saving still. It's a much better position to be in. Gabriel Ngoli sits in P4. Gabriel Ngoli pit 2 laps sooner than Norris did on lap 122. Trevor Harmon pit on lap 123. Harmon is having a fantastic night in P5. As it sits, Josh Kanata, we know his situation. He's the best on fuel. He is just going and going and going to the end. Is that 16? He's the best on fuel and the best on tires. Let's not forget, pitting later gives you a tire advantage as well, so that 16 is going to be a hard charger to the end as he looks to take 5th place from Trevor Harmon down the back straightaway, and he should be able to do that. As we jump back to Nick Crawford in P7, Nick Crawford had that issue getting into his pit box. Nick Crawford's total pit lane time was 10 seconds slower than Cody Gibson. It was 8 seconds slower than Josh Kanata, Gabriel Ngoli, Trevor Harmon. So Nick Crawford did not get on and off a pit road like he would have wanted. That 74 would have been in the catbird seat to potentially win this race had that not happened. We go back to P8. We've got Ryan Ferrero, newcomer, brand new driver, very first start here in the All-American Racing League, doing a phenomenal job, up 16 positions from where he started. Biggest mover in tonight's event is Ferrero. Nolan Milnes in P9, excuse me, finds himself recovering from what was a disastrous first half of this event. Dakota Moniz is going to be the driver who rounds out our top 10 at the moment in that 0-5. William Bruton finds himself in P11, just now entering turn 1 in that 83 machine. Sam Dyer sitting in P12. And then we get to the lap down race cars. Jamie Walker in that 88. We know what happened to Jamie. Had a 2-second lead 13 laps into this race. Had to pit in stage 1 for fuel, sped on pit road. That was our first speeding penalty of the night, I do believe. First of what currently sits at 11. Sam Garcia lapped down from a speeding penalty. Rob Higgs, I believe, had a speeding penalty. Joseph Klein had a speeding penalty. Matthew Pavlik back here. Zachary Wake, I think, had a speeding penalty. Joe Hudson had a speeding penalty. Caleb West had a speeding penalty. Lots of different drivers having penalties throughout tonight's event. That'll be more or less our through the field as we sit here with 24 laps to go in tonight's event. Let's check in with race leader Cody Gibson, shutting that race car off very early down the front straightaway. Let's take a listen down the back. Doesn't shut it off into turn 3 until much later. Turn 3 and 4 is a much higher speed corner, so that makes sense. You're not going to shut it off as early into turn 3. Turn 1 is a lot slower than turn 3, so you feel better about shutting it off a lot sooner. Let's check in with P2. Ryan Rose got that thing cut off. P3, about to be P2. This is Chris Norris, who is significantly better off on fuel than Gibson or Rose. And he is doing a lot of lift and coast. He's not throwing the clutch in, but he's certainly lifting enough time in advance to save some fuel. Let's see what he does into turn 1. Shuts that race car off. Josh Kanata in P4. Josh Kanata has enough fuel to make it to the end without saving. Josh Kanata is out here running hot laps. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can't do this here. Here's the time difference between our race leader Cody Gibson desperately saving fuel and Josh Kanata in P4 good to go on fuel to the end. 0.5 of a second better, 0.5 of a second better, 1.1 seconds better, 0.6 better, 0.3 better. Josh Kanata is going to get there, but I don't think the question is going to be versus Cody Gibson. I think it's got to be versus Chris Norris, who is still saving fuel, but is going to be able to go further than Gibson and Rose, faster than Gibson and Rose. So as we come across the line this time, you can see Kanada's got 2 tenths, 4 tenths, 3 tenths, 2 tenths, 2 tenths. The only problem is that Josh Kanada currently finds himself about 4 seconds behind Chris Norris. Can he make up that 4-second gap via Chris Norris needing to save fuel all the way to the end? That is going to be the question. That is going to be what we are monitoring. But as it sits, I have my eyes on the 38 and the 16 to be the two that this race is going to come down to in the end. I don't see Cody Gibson saving this much fuel and retaining the race lead. He will do one of the two, but he will not do both. He'll retain the race lead and have to pit, or he'll save enough fuel and lose the lead. But he's not going to do both in his situation. Chris Norris sitting in the catbird seat at the moment. Ryan Rose in P3. He's in an interesting situation in that he's got 1 lap better than Gibson, but he's still not too comfortable on fuel. Nick Crawford in the same boat as Josh Kanada. Not saving any fuel. Should be further up. Didn't get the pit stop right. He's going to be kicking himself as he tries to recover as much ground as he can before it's all said and done. That's our situation through the top 5 as it runs. 16 laps to go. And Cody Gibson gets into the outside wall. Out of turn number 2. We're going to take a look at some of these gaps. Norris and Rose. There's Kanada. There's Crawford. See if we can't get a good shot down in turn 1 here. All right, here comes race leader Cody Gibson right here. 2nd place Norris. 3rd place Rose. 4th place Kanada. A lot of ground to make up for Kanada. And then Crawford back in P5. Help you visualize those gaps just a little bit. $14 laps remain. Cody Gibson still in control, 1 second ahead of Chris Norris, but 3 laps less on fuel. Has Cody Gibson decided that he can't make it and he's just going to try and last long enough for a yellow? His lap times would indicate that he's not saving enough fuel to make it to the end. I would have expected the 38 to catch him by now. We'll see how this plays out. Only got so much information up here in the booth. I did hear him shut it off pretty early that time by. Down into turn number 1. Chris Norris needs to make his way around Bruton in the 83. And he will do so down into turn 3. Gap between Norris and Kanada sits at 3.8 seconds. That is not closing fast enough for the 16. As Gibson looks to secure his 2nd win of the season, Chris Norris looking to secure his 4th plus the All-Star race. William Bruton on pit road. This last time by, unable to make it to the end. That gap up front has closed down now to 8 tenths of a second. Gibson to Norris. 11 laps remain. How well can Cody Gibson save fuel while maintaining pace? Right on board with driver number 7. Looking back at the 38 of Norris closing in. You can hear him shut the engine off. Coasting all the way to the exit of turn 2. And Norris is going to close that gap significantly that time, 0.4 of a second. Shuts it off on entry into 3, but only for a moment. Got to keep that momentum up. And if you're Chris Norris, riding on board, looking ahead at the race leader, big lift and coast out of the 38, not throwing the clutch in. Easy on the throttle, easy on the fuel, easy on the tires. He knows the 7 is in a vulnerable spot right now. And he seems to be pretty comfortable closing it at the rate he is, with now 8 laps to go at the line. This will come to a head before long. A little further back, Nolan Milnes in the top 10, looking to take over P9 from Dakota Moniz. Or perhaps the other way around, with Moniz running in 9th. And Milnes in 10th. Goalie just ahead, defending for position in P8. Thought Milnes might have gotten to the inside right there. No such luck on that occasion. He's going to stick that nose in one more time. Can't quite get there through turn 3. And goalie's going to be under pressure now. Milnes thought about 3 wide for a second. Maybe they are 3 wide down the front straightaway. Almost. Goalie's going to lose 2. Maybe 3 by the time we get through turns 1 and 2. No, a couple of lap down cars just behind. Not a problem. All right, Ryan Rose quickly under pressure from the 16 of Kanata, who is caught 3rd place, but is not on track to catch the top 2 before this race is over. 6 laps to go. Back up front. The gap is 0.3 of a second between Cody Gibson and Chris Norris. Cody Gibson last pit on lap 121. Norris pit on lap 124. 3 laps difference in fuel and in tires. Advantage 38. That's the situation we find ourselves in with 5 laps to go in tonight's event. When does Norris put the hammer down? When does he close in that final bit? Four remain for Cody Gibson, chasing his 2nd win of the season. Chris Norris closes in all the way to the rear bumper that time through turns 1 and 2. He is there with the opportunity down into turn 3 at this point. Cody Gibson going to take a slightly defensive line, half a lane up the track. Going to try and hold that momentum out, but Cody Gibson has to save so much fuel that it might be a fruitless endeavor. Down into turn 1, Gibson's going to send it in wide, and here comes Norris to the inside. Now out of 2. How hard does Gibson fight it? Oh, he fights it down the back straightaway. Down into turn 3. Does Gibson go all out? Does he try and save the fuel? How much leeway has he given himself? Off of turn 4, Gibson with the momentum, he gets into the wall. They're going to be dead even at the line. 2 laps remain. Down into turn 1, Gibson's going to have to keep it pinned to the outside. Can he do it? Norris is clear as we exit turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Gibson cannot close that gap. New race leader Chris Norris through 3 and 4 as we get ready to see the white flag this time by. Cody Gibson not gonna make it, pulls down on a pit road, unable to make it one final lap as Chris Norris takes the white flag, and for the 160th time around this 1.5-mile circuit tonight, That 38 car is going to bring it home. Winner in the All-Star race last week. Winner of 3 races up to this point in the season. The only driver with multiple wins is going to make it not 2, not 3. Not 3 in an All-Star, but 4 and an All-Star for Chris Norris, who is undoubtedly the championship favorite as we enter the second half of the season. Josh Kanata in the 16, teammate's going to come home in P2. Give that 38 a push, as that 38 is surely running on fumes, if not out of fuel completely at this point. Phenomenal job from this field, saving fuel, stretching it out, making it work. Your unofficial top 3, Norris, Kanata, Rose, at the end of the day. And we're going to see about getting a word with our top 3 as Norris gets ready to celebrate. All right, let's see if we can't pull up our third place finisher. We got Ryan Rose in the 78. Ryan, you qualified on pole out here tonight. You kept yourself up towards the top 5 most of the night, but it seemed like a pretty tame night for the most part, and it seemed like on more than one occasion things kind of came down to stretching it out and fuel. Walk us through your race and then that final run right there, just trying to stretch as much as you did.
Yeah, I did something stupid on the first lap and hit the wall, which wasn't great, but luckily it didn't damage the car at all, so that was lucky. And then the last run came down the fuel, and I didn't save enough to go longer during the second run, so that kind of screwed me over. And then yeah, so a lot of mistakes, but still came around to a P3, so that's good.
Absolutely, and it looks like right now on the replay that Kanata just got to you at the line out of turn 4 right there. Did you run out of turn 4?
Yes, I did.
Oh boy. Well, I tell you what, sometimes that's how the fuel-saving races go. And I tell you what, we're officially in the second half of the season here in terms of total races, but we are just about to enter the playoffs here. We've got some drafting coming up at the New Atlanta in 1 week's time, and then we get ready for the playoffs. How are you feeling about the playoffs coming up in that first round in particular?
Yeah, I feel really good. I just need to focus on execution and really getting like some wins under my belt. But as long as I can keep it pretty consistent, I think I can make it to the championship 4.
All right, that's what we love to hear. Well, congrats on the P3, and before we let you go, we'll open up the floor to give any hays and highs.
Yeah, just my mom, my dad, Brett's Electric, they helped me out a lot in real life, and yeah.
All right, thanks again, Ryan, and congrats on your P3. And with that, that brings us to our runner-up in tonight's event, Josh Kanata in that 16. You had the right call on fuel and maybe just needed, I don't know, an additional lap or 2. What do you think?
Yeah, something like that. We figured that if we can make it to about lap 125 there at the end, 35 to go, you'd have enough to make it. I think that's what Chris did. I was able to do the extra lap, so I didn't have to really save it all on the final run, but he was able to save just enough, and glad it worked out. We'll take a 1-2.
Absolutely. Love when that can work out. I tell you what, we're getting ready. We're gearing up for those playoffs. We're going to go have some fun drafting at the New Atlanta configuration next week. But after that, we've got Vegas, Arlington, and Nashville Fairgrounds for the first round. How are you feeling about how the playoffs line themselves up for the second half of the season here?
Definitely a very tricky first round. I think Vegas really being the only, I guess you call it, straightforward track. I don't know. I've tell you what, I've never raced at Nashville Fairgrounds at all. I don't think so. That'll be a doozy, and Darlington's always a tricky one. It's definitely gonna be a bit a fun playoff, but hopefully just gonna finish off the regular season strong and take it week by week.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, congrats on the runner-up finish tonight and the good finish for the team. Before we let you go, we'll open up the floor to give any hays and highs.
Absolutely. I appreciate everybody watching. First of all, appreciate you guys putting on the show as well, and the guys that run the league are a ton of fun. Um, Hopefully be back here next week, one spot higher.
Absolutely. There we go. Congrats again, Josh, on your P2. And with that, that brings us to the big winner on the night, Chris Norris, who has done it again. Nobody else can win more than one race in the All-American Racing League, but here you are with 4 and an All-Star race. Walk us through your race tonight and how you got on top of managing the fuel versus pace throughout tonight's race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Texas. I do prefer this one over the old one. Like as you saw on Monday night, I just kind of sucked. Um, but tonight I had a little bit more practice. Got home kind of late, ate some dinner, hopped in the sim, and did what I could in practice. My teammates were telling me fuel saving was gonna be the thing, and I don't know about you, but I hate fuel saving because it sucks. It's not fun because it's all just like pacing around. Like it's almost like eye pacing, but not going that slow. So I was just doing whatever I can, trying to save as much as I could, and I didn't really have the tires the first run and the second run. I definitely think I could have had the lead maybe in the first run because I was pretty quick towards the end. Second run, I built my stuff up, trying to battle there. So third run, I knew I had to do better. I knew I had to save my tires and I had to save more fuel. I think my strategies compared to the others are a little bit different. I don't really lift that early in clutch. I was a little bit at the last stage. But what I do differently is I just like sit at like 85% throttle on the straights. I try to use draft if I can. I don't really lift close in clutch because I feel like clutching burns these tires up so much. So I don't do it that often as much as I probably should. But I just wasn't comfortable with it. So yeah, I was just focusing on saving my tires and staying under 90% throttle. And hey, it paid off. I still got point 0.8 left too.
It absolutely did pay off, and I tell you what, it's interesting to hear about that different way of saving fuel. I wonder if we'll get to see more of that moving forward. I tell you what, we're getting ready to go do some drafting next week, and then after that, that's when the real stuff happens because the first round of the playoffs is just about here, and we've got a doozy of a first round with Vegas, Darlington, and Nashville Fairgrounds, excuse me. So how are you feeling about that first round and about the playoffs as a whole as they're right around the corner?
Yeah, so actually I am going to Disney on a spring break trip next week, so I will not be here for Atlanta. I'll be watching from a nice resort room, I hope. But I will be back in time for Las Vegas, thank God, because my flight is early on Saturday morning. So I'll be back to Vegas. Only thing I'm a little bit worried about is this new update. I was telling Josh there, I was like, you know what? I'm getting all my wins out of the way, so that way, whenever this new drafting update comes out, I'm just gonna suck in the new dirty air. So I'm hoping I'll still be fine in the dirty air. I like Vegas. I don't think I've ever won there before, but I've come close in both the Trucks and Xfinity cars. So, oh, and the Cup next gen too. So I'm hoping I can get it done there, make it done in early. And but that's what everyone else wants. They want to win in the first race in the first round. So, I feel pretty good about Darlington. I don't think it's a subtle track for me to win there. But like Las Vegas, I think it's a good track to finish pretty good at. And Nashville Fairgrounds, it's a pretty steep track. I think maybe it's kind of like Iowa. So if it's kind of like Iowa, which kind of hope that it's gonna be the same result. Where if I'm not in a good spot, well, hopefully Nashville Fairgrounds will come around and win. After that, the round of 8, a little bit tricky. I mean, we have North Wilkesboro, Kentucky, and Indy. I love North Wilkesboro. I have that track circled. I'll say that. Kentucky, I hate Kentucky. Indy, that's kind of fun, depending on how the drafting is, the setup is. So, we'll see how that happens. But the championship 4 round is a little bit too far ahead, so I can't circle those tracks yet. But hey, we'll see how this first round goes and go from there.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, congrats on the big win again. And before we let you go celebrate, we'll give you a moment to give any hays and highs or shout outs that you'd like.
Yeah, you guys, of course, put on the great show. Sad to see that. Oh my God, I'm really bad with names. Um, I'm really sad to see that Tom isn't here as well to join you in the booth, but hey, I'm sure you did a great job tonight as you always do. And also the admins for putting on the show, allowing us to come out here and race every Saturday night, and also putting on the last night's show, League Wars. Luckily, my team won that last night, so luckily we shared the pot as well. So going home with some extra cash as well is always great. Also my teammates, Josh Kanata for the amazing fuel strategy. I didn't really think I was gonna make it. He knew I was on the oddball strategy, but he still helped me with the numbers and stuff like that. Nick Crawford, the GOAT, my father. I know I was racing him a bit there. We were having some fun. Ryan Ferraro, newcomer to the league. Glad to have him out. Dakota Moniz, hey, winner from last night. That guy is the GOAT. I know he had a good finish here last night. I mean, tonight as well. And Sam Dyer, he was just hanging out. He had a pretty good finish there. Almost got a top 10. Got a shout out senoursphoto.com. If you need a photographer anywhere in the U.S., just pay for my travel. I'll be there. If not, if in the tri-state of Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, I'd be happy to come out and photograph any sports events or any kind of regular events. I'd be happy to do it. But also my parents, I don't think they're watching tonight. I've sent them the link, but they just don't want to support me. I'm joking. They love me, but they haven't. They're watching other stuff. So that is it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Chris. And congrats on the big win. That is our winner for tonight's event. Winner who we have talked to multiple times up to this point in this season. On top of things, getting the job done and showing the field that he is going to be the one to contend with. Well, I'll tell you what, after 160 laps around the Texas Motor Speedway, why don't we take a look at our final results for tonight's event. Under the lights, Chris Norris comes out on top with his 4th points win of the season, ahead of Josh Kanata in P2. Rounding out the podium is going to be Ryan Rose in 3rd. Nick Crawford comes home in 4th. And oh, by the way, in his very first career start, Ryan Ferrero in P5 to round out the top 5. Nolan Milnes comes home in P6 ahead of Trevor Harmon in 7th. Dakota Moniz with a solid 8th place finish. Gabriel Ngoli in P9. And Cody Gibson rounds out the top 10. P11 is going to go to Sam Dyer, ahead of P12, Sam Garcia. P13, Joseph Klein, ahead of Zachary Wake in 14th, and Matthew Pavlik rounds out the top 15. In 16th, it's going to be Rob Higgs, William Bruton in 17th, Jamie Walker comes home 18th, Joe Hudson 19th, and Caleb West in P20. 21st, Jackson West. 22nd, Alex Fuller. 23rd, Ron Hollifield. 24th, Larry Bell. And shotgun on the field, Brian Troy in 25th. Tanner Marr did not take a lap in tonight's event. All right, that's it for us here in round 13 of 24 for the All-American Racing League inaugural season. Don't forget to drop a like on this stream. Make sure you subscribe to the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network to make sure you never miss a moment of racing action week in and week out. We will see you in 1 week's time for Atlanta Super Speedway before we get ready to jump into the playoffs. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.